everyone, this is Emily from Grammy's Garden. I'm making a no-knead bread today, but it's going to have oats in it and it's going to have honey in it. And I'm going to just mix the dry ingredients and then add the warm water, the honey, and the yeast. And then we'll just put it on the counter, cover it with cellophane or plastic wrap, and just let it sit there like 12 to 24 hours and then bake it in a 450-degree oven. And we'll bake it for 30 minutes. I'll be baking it in this. We'll bake it for 35 to 40 minutes, and then we'll take this lid off, and because it's baking it in this Dutch oven, right? So we'll take this off and let it finish browning on the top if it needs to do that. I always test mine. So here's 1 cup. 2 cups, 3 cups, that's just about right. Let's see, just a smidge more. There we go. Okay, let's set that aside there. Then the next ingredient is 1 cup of oats, and I'm just using 1-minute oats. You can use what you've got on hand. I hope you all can't hear it. You know the dog that I'm always talking about, my son's dog, that's so precious, and you always hear her lapping water. She's pretty sick right now. So if you all do prayers for dogs, please do. So anyway, on we go. On top of this, we're going to put in, poor baby, poor baby. She's had medicine, but I'm gonna have to give her some more. 1½ teaspoons of salt, and you put that right on top of this. I want to be sure I don't get the wrong measurement on this. When I'm sidetracked with dog stuff, because my dogs are just like my best buds around here, I'll tell you. And this is my grand dog, but she's been with me a long time now, off and on during the daytime. Okay, she's the one, if you'll go and look at my videos, my gardening videos, I'm so thankful I have those of her running in the background and photo bombing. It's precious, precious stuff for me. I'll have that from now on to look at. And I'm thinking that she'll come out of this, but it's just hard to see them in pain. All right, so to this, I add 1 teaspoon of active yeast. Active yeast and instant yeast, this says active dry, I'm using instant. They are interchangeable. So 1 teaspoon, and I'm gonna mix it right in here. And it seems kind of counterintuitive because of the fact that salt can kind of stop yeast, but there's not enough salt in this, and because we're mixing it all together, it's gonna be a very minute portion that would be like, it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio with that. All right, and then just mix this all around, and then I'm going to mix in, I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of honey. And you know, I want just a bit more salt because my breads lately have not been, when I'm following recipes, they have not been coming out to the amount of salt I want on them. So I'm adding a little bit more salt. I added about 1/4 teaspoon more. If you like to be able to, salt gives bread flavor. That's all I'm gonna say. Of course, this honey's gonna do good too. And we'll probably even get a little bit of the oats. Now, 2 tablespoons, and I changed it and I'm using 3. I'm gonna do this to see if I can get this out of here okay. Actually, I think I'm gonna just pour it in here since this is the 2 cups of water we're gonna use. Gotta use the noodle. Gotta use my old noodle today. It may seem crazy, but when I have an animal that's sick, I get very, very anxious and sidetracked. This has been a hard week for dogs in my family. Out of the 4 dogs in the family, we have 2 that are doing okay, thankfully. and one is gone. But this one, I think she will pull through. They think it's like a shoulder injury, but each day she's laying and whimpering more, so we'll see. All right, this is so simplistic, right? So you just put this honey water mixture, and your water needs to be warm, because if it's not going to activate that yeast. Then this sitting, you just combine this, and then this sitting covered out on your counter or in an oven that is not heated. And that's particularly helpful if you've got like a pilot light or something. But I've got an electric oven, so I don't see, unless I turn the light on, I don't see that there would be any additional warmth in it. But we'll just see how it's gonna go. Every time I make bread, I'm just like, go with the flow. You're gonna get better and better at this. There was a time that I could make bread once a week by rote memory, never had to think a thing about it, and I could just put it together, and each time it turned out great. And that was 44 years ago. I'm computing it by the age my son was, my oldest son, whenever I was doing all that. And he was 12. And he's now 56. So that helps me compute things by, now how were my children when this was going on? So it's a sticky dough. It's gonna sit here, and what's gonna happen, sitting there is gonna help the gluten formation. It's gonna help this bread become this dough become a really nice dough for a no-knead recipe. So literally, when I take it out of this, I will film this tomorrow, because I'm thinking I'm gonna cook this like in the morning. So mine may be more of like a 14-hour thing, because it's a little after 4 here right now. Okay. Yeah, I can feel those oats. I'm anxious to try this. I think this would be good, and I'll let y'all know how this tastes. Like, does it taste like it'd be good for certain meals or what? So I'm just pushing it down in here. So I'll let it sit there overnight, and then tomorrow when I uncover the dough, I'll show you how much that it rose. And then I'll also, once it's baked, I'll show you all of that, and I'll do a taste test, okay? Okay, great. This is getting covered with cellophane. It's gonna set in a warm place, and I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. Y'all have a great day. Good morning, everyone. This is Emily. It's about 6:30 here, and I'm getting ready. My dough that I put aside on the counter has risen really well. I'm happy to tell you all, if you see my dishes over here draining, I had company for dinner, and I just put the dishes in the sink and got up and did them this morning. Because the dog kind of took precedence for all of us. We were focused on her. She's much better. She was started on a medicine that I think will help get this all cleared up. Let's just say hopeful prayers for that. So I'm going to get this, and I will tell you now, I have my oven preheated. Mine tends to get a little hot, so the recipe says bake it at 450 degrees in the Dutch oven. So the Dutch oven is in there, and it's all well heated up too. So when I put it in to the Dutch oven, it's not going to be a cold oven. It's going to be hot. So, hi baby girl. Feeling so much better, able to walk. That's a big thing. So anyway, I am getting ready to just take this dough out. It turned out delicious looking. I can see the oatmeal in there. I've not made this before, and it smells so good and so yeasty. So I'm just gonna have to kind of pull it apart, as you can see, and it's a sticky dough, and that's all right. And it has probably done some fermentation overnight too. So this is done and set aside. And I'm going to put some, I already have dough, flour all over me. So I'm just going to pat this down a little bit. Just kind of work it into a ball, but not do anything aggressive. Just work it into a ball. Like you see, I'm not kneading it or anything like that. I'm just giving that little bit of extra flour. When that bakes, that flour is going to be so beautiful that's there on that top. You see, either side of this could be the top. I want flour on the bottom as well. So I don't have one of the knives that they have that look like really sharp razor blades with on a handle that you can use to score this, but I am going to get a knife and see if I can make just a few little designs. I may go ahead and get me one of those, even though they look almost like a box cutter, except they're shaped like just an old razor blade. The kind my dad used to put in his old razors. I'm not talking about those old long razors that, you know, that the blade whipped out. But anyway, I've got a knife here that I think might do the trick. But any cut on this will keep it from, like, if you've seen my other videos, you will see that when it comes out of the oven, it has kind of a cracked look. I think that's beautiful personally, but I wanted to just give this a try. So let's just see. Yeah, it's gonna work. I wanna make, yeah, it's doing great. We don't always have to have the best tools, right? I am going to make a design of a wheat, what I think of as a wheat growing. And I think that's going to be pretty. And you all are going to get to see it and see if you think it's going to be pretty too. You'll get to see it when it's done. I'm anxious to eat this one too, because I just want to see what this honey and oats taste like in this bread. Okay, now comes the really treacherous part, if there's a treacherous part to baking bread. And that's me getting that Dutch oven out of the oven. So I'm gonna pick this dough up. See, it's not fragile. I don't know if y'all can see a design, but there's a design there. And I think I'm gonna put a little flour on this. I'm gonna plop it on this. Set it right here. I'm gonna get this hot 400. I put it on 440, I told you, because of my oven being the way it is. Because that's one hot oven. And you know, even the enamel on this thing, this cooker, turns a deep dark red. That shows you how hot this booger is, right? It's hot. Very hot. Don't forget ever how hot the lid is, okay? And I'm gonna put it right here on top of this stove where it'll be all right. So I'm afraid I could burn other things with it. And I'm just gonna put this down in here like this. There we go. That looks good. And we're gonna have, I can tell we're gonna have a really beautiful bread. Okay, get this little hot lid back on it. That little piece of parchment sticking out, it's okay. It'll come out brown, but it's not gonna burn. And in we go. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. It says it's 7:06. So at 7:36, I'm gonna check it. And if it's browned lightly, then I'm gonna go ahead and take the lid off and give it about 10 or 15 more minutes to brown thoroughly. And then we'll take it out and I'll thump the bottom of that. That's how I tell whether or not the bread has cooked all the way through. We want a nice soft bread on the inside and a nice crust on the outside. So let's hope it goes well, okay? We'll be back. Okay, I just took this out of the oven and it was 30 minutes. So let's see what it looks like. Well, it's pretty. I can see my design a little bit, but it's not quite what I thought. Here's what I'm gonna do now, because I thumped on it. I'm gonna set this lid down, it's burning my hand. Even through an oven mitt that's got silicone on it, it's still, that heat was coming through from this. That's how hot it is. So this is going back in the oven. Can you hear that? Sounds pretty good, but I wanna give it just a teeny bit more time, not much. 5 minutes, 10 minutes is gonna be, you know, the recipe said 10 to 15 back in the oven, but that's mainly so you get color to it. But this has got color, so I'm gonna give it just a teeny bit more time. But, oh, it smells so good. I had one of you say that you wished that we could have smell-o-vision when I made that zucchini lasagna. I wish y'all could have too, and I wish I had it this morning. So when it's out of the oven, I'm gonna thump on it and show you. You all may not be able to see me, because I set this up so you could really see this well, and I'm gonna actually take the camera and put it over the top of it, but I'll just take it out and show you what that looks like. So here goes. It's ready. I peeked in, turn my oven off, because that's heating up my kitchen, believe it or not. It's 41 out, which is really nice. I haven't gone out and fed birds yet, but they've not shown up. I have a pair of bluebirds that are really scoping out my box out there, and I think they're going to move in. I don't know if they've decided to take the apartment or not. But I keep mealworms out there for them, and they're donated to me by my daughter because I couldn't afford those mealworms. But I know these birds are loving them, and she loves bluebirds. They're just like her favorite. And I don't have a favorite, I don't think, except I've told you all about the one. Boy, my parchment paper is not wanting to cooperate. And that's a brand I've never used before. So that tells me some interesting things, right? I may not buy this brand again. So I'm gonna have to get in there and take control. Well, that looks good. That little old Dutch oven is hot. All right, y'all. This is nice and clean. I'm gonna just pop this baby out. When you hear that, you know you're done through and through. Yes, isn't that a pretty loaf of bread? Can you all see all that? I really hope so. I'm gonna take this camera and bring it where you can. Yeah, this parchment paper is just falling apart. It was practically, wasn't totally useless, but sometimes you get what you pay for, right? And I think I got that situation. Okay, so let's just take this camera. Don't want to make anybody seasick or anything like that. But I'm going to show you. You got to see my cabinet that's got onion. I bring in my onions that I started in a jar. I brought them in because it was cold, really cold last night. So let's see if I can get this to focus a little better on this. Okay, there it is. There's what it looks like on the bottom, and that's typical. I think it's going to be delicious. So there you have it. That's how you make oatmeal honey bread. And I'm just going to keep experimenting. And it's no knead. You know, how easy is it? You mix it up. Took me less than 5 minutes, I think. And I set it on the counter with saran wrap over it. And I gave it about 14 hours, I guess it was. And you can give 12 to 24. But I think it would just keep on doing its thing and almost ferment. But I won't recommend that till I've tested it, or read more about it. So there you are. Y'all have a wonderful day.